Hi, everybody. How's everyone today? Can we do better than that? Come on. All right. Welcome back for our second day of the World Women Foundation and Health at WPP, talking about women's health. I want to throw out, again, where's Rupa? She's somewhere in there? Another thank you to Rupa for having us join with her and being such a great partner. Today we have two sessions, which I hope you guys will stay for, two really great sessions. And I'm going to start by asking a question of the audience. What's the number one thing that women and men are talking about in 2025 as it relates to their health? Who said wait? I knew you'd come through. Yeah, and I think we all know this has been a cultural phenomenon. What's been happening over the past year, it's in the last 2 years. This is not the first time people have talked about weight and obesity and weight management. I've worked in space for many, many, many years, but this is the year where it's taking hold. And we have a big commitment to looking at how do we make sure we're communicating to consumers, and especially we want to make sure we're communicating the right way with women, because women are coming at this very differently than men. So today we have three amazing, diverse guests. First, Stephanie Lawrence from Nextdoor. She's going to take you through some brand new research that we partnered on and get your input and see where we go from here. We have Christine Issaq from Univision. So as we were talking about, lots of discussions about lots of different women, but Hispanic women seem to be ignored a lot in the health discussion, and we want to bring that to life. And then, of course, our Stephanie Starr from WPP, formerly known as and now WPP Media. And she's the client president for health. So we work together all the time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie to take you through a little bit of the research, and then we're going to do some Q&A, and we have a quick half hour to do it all. Oh, sorry. Do you guys... No, it's fine. Can everybody see the screen? Yeah? Okay. Stephanie, back to you.
Thank you. Do I have a screen? Is the slide up here? I'm going to go get my iPad that has the data on it, and I will be right back. So, dead air.
We could start with some questions, though. Stephanie, do you mind if you kick us off? You're very facile. So we'll throw one question out to Stephanie Starr, and then we can kick off some of the research. So Stephanie, you've worked in this area for quite a long time. I think really sort of in the older days, the pioneering days, for one of our clients and others. And you're really at that intersection of health, media, and client, and consumer understanding. So from your perspective, and you see so much data, so much going on in the space, what are some of the biggest misconceptions women have about weight and weight loss that you see influencing media narratives or consumer behavior? We have to get another. Oh, you have that right there.
Oh, okay. All right. So obviously there are many, many misconceptions about weight and women, separately and together. But I would say, a couple that are just the broader ones. First off is that weight equals health. I think that's a huge misconception. People of all different, body shapes and backgrounds could have perfect health, cardiovascular health, blood pressure. And so that is a misconception that I see pretty regularly. And then I guess another one is that, weight loss is really about willpower. And, it just fundamentally is not about willpower, and it's not solely about discipline. There are so many facets of weight loss and health management and weight management that, anywhere from stress to mental health to gut health, and, those things are overlooked a lot. And that misconception is that people who are people with obesity are really just lacking discipline and don't have willpower, and that is a very big misconception that we need to overcome.
Thank you. And Stephanie, you're okay with your iPad. So I'm just going to give you a tiny bit of history and context on the relationship between Health at WPP and Nextdoor. It actually started a year ago where we basically said, let's look at some of the more compelling and interesting topics happening in health. We decided to land on, for the first one, oncology. And what we were so intrigued by with Nextdoor was like, how can we really learn more about what the community wants to do and hear when it comes to these different disease categories? And, as we've been saying over the past few days, that people are not about their diseases, they're about themselves. Every person brings something different to the table when they have a disease or when they're dealing with a condition. In that particular research, we found that people who had cancer really did want to rely on their neighbors for more help, but didn't know how to ask. And what we found from the neighbors is they really want to help, but they don't know what to ask to do. Most of them say, and I'm sure all of us does, how can I help you? Tell me if you need anything. What they want to hear is, go walk my dog, get my dry cleaning, take my kids to school. Those little tiny tasks that can mean to someone so much to someone who's struggling with a chronic disease. Okay, enter a few months later. We thought that was very successful. We decided, let's try this again. Let's try it in the hottest topic there is happening in the world, I think, right now, which is obesity. And that led to the research you're going to see a little glimpse of right now. There'll be more rolling out over the next few weeks. That provides the context of how we came to this place.
Thank you. So I'm sad you can't see the slides because there were tons of graphics, like lots of things happening. I'm totally lying. It's like a data side. So I'll just read it to you. So the first thing that we found out after doing this research was that 52% are setting weight loss goals this year, which is up 13% from last year. And that could be anything, not just to lose pounds, but just to sort of just be healthier in their lifestyles, which is sort of something that permeates throughout the research, that people want to be reminded less about losing weight per se, but more about living a healthier lifestyle. The other piece of this is 45% of those aspiring to lose weight will use social platforms like Nextdoor for help on their journey. And again, that could be, for what Wendy said, just posting where is the best outdoor yoga studio. Does anyone have a walking group that we can join? Nextdoor is mostly about doing things in real life and getting things done. So a lot of the things that you'll see from your neighbors coming back to you will be more utilitarian in nature. So that makes sense for them on our platform. Neighbors value shared accountability, so turning to support groups, that's up 44%, and workout buddies, 23%, more often than the general population on Nextdoor. So I think, once again, that's just more about being held accountable, making sure that someone's aware of your journey so you can do this together and you're not feeling alone in your fitness journey. 71% of adults are interested in meeting more people in their neighborhood, and 50% wish they had a closer relationship with their neighbors. And there's just an inherent desire for connection when you're trying to lose weight. So I think, again, that ties back to having an accountability buddy. And, it just feels like your goals are more accountable when you're doing it with someone, or more attainable when you're doing it with somebody else. And then compared to the general population, neighbors are more likely to support their weight loss with a commercial program, up 68%, or prescription medication, 48%, which again ties nicely into what Wendy is looking to accomplish. And then for food for thought, last point, and then we can get to the conversation. Neighbors feel advertising often overlooks the need for long-term sustainable change and the challenge of maintaining weight loss. So stop sending me skinny women in leggings. Like, I want to see real people with their journey, sharing, caring in a whole different light. It's less about just how we look, it's how we feel.
Thank you, Stephanie. And I think, one of the key opportunities here is that this whole discussion around obesity and weight loss has really been sitting in kind of this vortex of cultural and this cultural phenomenon. And now there's an opportunity for us to start thinking about it from a community perspective, that people want to be supported on their journeys. They want to make it more around wellness and health. And so for any of you guys out there doing that kind of work, it gives food for thought on how you can actually work with your clients or with you with the different companies to think about how weight can be managed very differently in terms of marketing and communications. All right, we don't have much time, so I'm going to come to you, Christine. All right, so as VP of Client Partnerships at Univision, you have a lot of unique insight into the Hispanic community. And from your perspective, what are some of the most common beliefs or understandings women in the Hispanic community hold about weight and weight loss that may not align or may not always align with current health science? And how can we address the stigma that is often so associated with weight and obesity, given the importance of community support in weight management?
Short on time, long on question. Okay.
That's the longest question I think I've ever asked.
Okay, I'll piece it together. First of all, thank you for including Televisa Univision in this conversation. Like you mentioned at the top, Hispanic women are often a second thought when it comes to healthcare. So we're really excited to be a part of this conversation. Now, when it comes to health, especially in the Hispanic community, you have to start with the heart of the home. And that home in this community is multi-generational. And that home is managed, fed, loved by women. And so if we're going to address these conversations, we really have to make sure they're pointed to the women inside of this community because they're often ignored. They're very busy juggling everything that they have to do. And you mentioned kind of what's the disconnect. So there is a disconnect between what health looks like clinically and then what it looks like culturally and how that's experienced. Health in the Hispanic community, sure, it's not just about the labs. It's also about, can I do it all? Depending on life stage, can I raise my kids? Can I support my partner? Can I care for my aging parents? Can I do all of those things? Oh, by the way, I have to take care of myself, go to work, take a shower, get a job. All of those things are seen as a strength and thereby health. But we know from data that 32%, or Hispanics are 32% more likely to be obese than non-Hispanics. And so we know that leads to what? Diabetes, high blood pressure, a whole host of other issues that really need to be solved for. So when we talk about stigma, it's a long journey, walk with me. So when we talk about stigma, we have to make sure we address it from a community perspective culturally as well, because everything that happens inside of the Hispanic community is done within culture and within the community. And we know, I don't have your slides, so I'll try. I think it was 84% of Hispanics feel as if advertising and advertisers don't address community within the wellness journey, and that's a huge miss if you really want to be a change agent in this community.
Right. Okay. So this is for you. We have talked, let's be open, we've talked both personally and professionally about this issue and the struggles women deal with on an everyday basis, especially after menopause, right? Or going through menopause and how it becomes more and more challenging. I know, I'm sorry. I know, we both are. Anyway, the question I have for you is, if we want to push towards being more community focused, what can women do to better lift each other up and take advantage of the opportunity to kind of work with each other and be supportive?
Exactly. Thank you. I think there has to be a level of vulnerability. And if we're doing this from a social media perspective, it could just be sharing your journeys. I don't know if you want to get onto Nextdoor and say, hey, I lost 5 pounds this week, or maybe you do. Maybe you do. And I think it's just about being kind to one another, being empathetic to one another, being kind to yourself, but also just sharing how you're getting on that path. And it could be as simple as, hey, everybody, start that community that you want to be a part of. I want to be in a walking group. I want to do something simple. Who wants to do this with me? Just applauding someone for starting that walking group, even if you don't want to be in it, but just being like, this is such a great idea. I'm so glad you thought of it. I think just being, again, just kind, which is kind of our stock ticker too. We want to lead with kindness in this journey so everyone feels like they have a place where they belong. And I think just go that route. I think that's the simplest thing that we can do.
Okay, Steph S. You're going to look into your crystal ball. And we know there are many, many things coming down the pike in our industry, from orals to new drugs from new companies. What do you think the future is going to look like, and how can health and pharma companies prepare for it?
So I am happy about some of the progress that has been made in terms of obesity being seen as a chronic condition and an indication, versus some of the misconceptions that are out there. And because of that, I think that, there's going to be a need for a kind of longer term maintenance strategy for companies who are helping support people on their weight loss journey. So that'll be really important for companies to be thinking about. And then the other trend that I've been seeing is more personalized weight loss goals and weight loss management. If you look at, kind of telehealth and behavior changes, it's not just about, a medication. So, there's a number of things, I think, from a holistic strategy that, brands and companies will need to think about in terms of supporting the full journey of weight loss and not just a time and a place.
And thank you. And Christine, that's a great segue to you, because obviously online is where most people are going to learn more, whether it's disinformation, misinformation, people are getting, or accurate information, people are getting a lot of information online. How do we create more support for people online? How do we create better communities online? And how can we assist them?
Hispanic women are already online so deeply in these healthcare spaces. And I think what we at Univision can do, and I think what our brand partners can do, is show up where they are. Don't assume they're going to be somewhere else, but show up present in the space where they currently exist, in language and in culture. And it's not just online that we're seeing these communities, although 25% of Hispanics are getting healthcare information about medical treatments and certain disease states from social. They're 2 times more likely to engage with healthcare content online, and then 3 times more likely to act upon that healthcare information if it resonates with them, meaning, is it in culture, is it in language, is it in community? So I'm going to say TU because we're short on time. So at TU, we have like a whole slew of ways to access these women, whether it's through our programming on air, our digital spaces, VIX, our streaming space, but it's not just online that these communities exist, it's in their neighborhoods where we hold health fairs. We have a Contigo health fair where families, women, whomever, can come and get healthcare screenings, have a conversation with doctors that are inside of their community, speak to a key opinion leader that wants to show a medical condition that's chronic within the Hispanic community. So it's not one or the other, it's marrying the digital and the hyper local in order to have really deep conversations about wellness holistically within the community.
All right, we have about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to do a little speed date with the 3 of you. And this is kind of 2 questions, so you can choose the part of this question you want to answer. You like that? So we're going to start with that, Stephanie. All right. So I think what we're seeing in our industry now and we're hearing today is more of a move to a more of a holistic approach. That's how we're going to start to see real movement in this area, obviously with the goal of getting this people to be more healthy and well and obviously living much longer lives. So the world could change a lot in the next few years. So considering this, how can we either get pharmaceutical companies and community platforms to work together to create a more supportive ecosystem? And second part of this question is, what are some of the key messages you want women in this room and men to take away about weight, wellness, and power of community? And you get to kick us off.
Wonderful. So I think part A was what can companies do to support, right? I do think that, as companies look at their patient experience, they really need to make sure that there is not just a conversation with the HCP that is supported with real data and real facts and, personalized treatment, but I think they also need to be supporting with access and with programs for affordability and any other thing that can address the patient journey. So that would be part A. What was part B again?
What do you want people in this room to take away from this conversation to help women with their weight, wellness,
Yeah.
and how the power of community can help?
I mean, I think that the power of community can touch you in so many different ways, and I think weight loss is something that is very, personal and very specific, and I think it really needs the most support because it's tough, and there's a lot that comes with it in terms of, I guess the history of your weight loss journey, but also the future that it can provide for you. So I would say that, what I would want you to take away from this panel is really that we need to change the narrative. We need to make sure that people do feel supported, and it can't just be from brands, and it can't just be from, business, but it has to be from one another.
Thank you. All right, Christine, you're up next.
I'll follow. The first question? Just give me the top line.
Pharmaceutical companies, community platforms,
Got it.
how can they work better together? Because we're moving towards more holistic type approach.
Nailed it. I brought a dove all the way from New Jersey.
Looks like a pigeon. It looks like a white pigeon.
It's part of my act. Lost my train of thought. We already know that Hispanic women are incredibly community driven, and the data that Nextdoor was showcasing shows that that equally applies in the weight loss journey. It is an emotionally driven experience, it is a community driven experience. And so when we think about how brands can engage and participate in the conversation, I'll keep saying it, you have to show up. And so we have a content studio called Aussie Studios. It's 75 different storytellers across 16 different countries of origin that share the Spanish language. And so we can make your lives a little bit easier. We can adjust the asset. We can put it in language. We can tell stories with you so that it's not so intimidating to have such a raw, hard conversation with this community. And then part B was key takeaways. I got it. I got it.
What in this room need to do to support this?
1 in 5 women in the U.S. are Hispanic. And so if we're going to support this cause, we have to start by speaking to everybody in the room where they are. And so I would say it's maybe similar to a weight loss journey. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to show up.
Birds frighten me, so my whole thought process is gone. Oh my God, sisters. I'm going to do a blend of what you said. I think I'm going to say that from an advertiser perspective, I think we just have to be, it's going to probably be the answer for everything. Just be kind to everyone. I think maybe advertisers can do a better job, and even Nextdoor can do a better job of educating people on their wellness journey. So it's less about looking at the scale every single day and more about what you can do to eat healthy, get active, be outside, be with your community, and communicate with one another. The other thing that I would say is that I'm hoping that everyone is kind to themselves, setting realistic goals for their weight loss journey as well. It could be just to take a walk, not to get to 10 pounds in a week. And then the last thing would be, from a Nextdoor perspective, is be the change, right? If you want to start that group, be the person who's vulnerable and puts it out there so other people feel like they have someone in this with them together. I see the sign 2 minutes. We are done.
Thank you, guys. I think, one of the things we should just think about as we go forward through the end of the year into next is we have diet, we have nutrition, we have exercise, we now have these amazing drugs, but we also need each other. So it's plus, plus, plus. And I think that will really help us make tremendous progress. And I think that kind of comes back to what you're saying, which is the empathy and kindness that goes along with it. Not everybody goes through the same journey. We need to remember that. So thanks to everybody. We have another health session coming up right after this. So hopefully you'll stay around.